Fear has always been one of America's most powerful forces. It doesn't just scare people, it shapes laws, changes behavior, and redraws the future. From nuclear panic to terrorism, from crime waves to mass surveillance, fear has quietly rewritten how America lives, votes, and thinks. This is the true story of how fear shaped modern America, not through invasion, but from the inside. Fear has never needed permission to enter American life. It arrives suddenly, spreads quickly, and stays long after the threat fades. Modern America wasn't shaped only by wars, presidents, or technology. It was shaped by fear, repeated, amplified, and remembered. In the late 1940s, a new existential fear took hold. The Cold War had begun, and Americans were told the next war wouldn't be fought. The soldiers said it would be fought with nuclear weapons. This wasn't a distant battlefield. It was a threat aimed at every home, every school, every city. Schools began running nuclear drills. Children practiced hiding under their desks, a flimsy shield against an unimaginable force. Cities prepared for total annihilation, mapping out evacuation routes that led nowhere safe. The threat felt constant, omnipresent, even though most Americans would never see a missile. This fear changed daily life. Suburban families built fallout shelters in their backyards, stocking them with canned goods and water. Television shows and movies normalized disaster scenarios, making the unthinkable feel like a grim inevitability. Government messaging reinforced one simple idea: stay alert, stay afraid. This fear didn't just fade away. It rewired an entire generation, embedding a deep-seated anxiety about the future and the fragility of normal life. Then, in the 1950s, the fear of an external enemy turned inward. Communism wasn't just a political ideology, it became an invisible enemy, a contagion that could infect anyone. Americans were told it could be their neighbor, their teacher, a coworker, even a trusted public figure. Senator Joseph McCarthy capitalized on this paranoia, launching a crusade to root out supposed communists from every institution. This era, known as McCarthyism, spread suspicion like a wildfire. Careers ended overnight. Reputations were destroyed based on rumor and innuendo. Trust, the glue of a functioning society, began to dissolve. Fear, in this case, didn't protect democracy. It strained it, pitting citizen against citizen. By the 1960s and 70s, the fear shifted again, moving from the abstract to the immediate. Crime rates began to rise, particularly in struggling inner cities. The media, especially the nightly news, intensified the sense of danger, bringing vivid images of violence directly into American living rooms. Suddenly, the threat wasn't a foreign power or a political ideology. It was a stranger on the street. The public demanded security, and politicians responded with promises of law and order. This fear reshaped the American justice system. Two-phone crime laws led to mandatory minimum sentences, three-strikes policies, and a massive expansion of the prison population. Fear fueled a war on drugs, which disproportionately affected minority communities. These policies, born from a public outcry for safety, had long-lasting consequences that still define policing, sentencing, and incarceration in the United States today. And then came a moment that changed everything. September 11th, 2001. Fear was no longer abstract or distant. It was immediate, visual, and deeply personal. The nation watched in real time as the attacks unfolded. The sense of vulnerability was absolute. In the aftermath, Americans wanted one thing above all else: safety at any cost. What followed was a swift and dramatic reordering of American society. New laws like the Patriot Act vastly expanded government surveillance powers. Airports were transformed into fortresses of security theater. Privacy, once a cherished American value, was quietly eroded in the name of national security. Most Americans accepted this trade-off, believing it was necessary to prevent another attack. Very few asked how long these emergency measures would last, or what the ultimate cost to their freedoms would be. Fear became official policy, but fear is a shapeshifter. It didn't leave after terrorism faded from the headlines. It adapted. In 2008, a new kind of fear gripped the nation: economic fear. The financial crisis triggered a collapse of the housing market and wiped out trillions in wealth. Millions of people lost their jobs, their homes, their life savings. The fear of financial ruin made people feel exposed and vulnerable in a different way. This fear changed how people spent their money, how they trusted institutions like banks and the government, and it profoundly changed American politics. And then, social media arrived, acting as a powerful new amplifier for fear. What once took years to spread now took minutes. Outrage traveled faster than facts. Algorithms designed to maximize engagement discovered that fear was profitable. The online world became a constant stream of threats, real, exaggerated, and fabricated. Fear stopped being a rare, significant event. It became a routine, a daily part of the information diet for millions. But if you look closely, you'll see a pattern. Fear always promises protection. It always demands a sacrifice of freedom, of privacy, of trust, and it always lingers much longer than expected. Each generation believes its fear is unique, more dangerous than the last, but history shows it rarely is. Fear has certainly helped America survive real threats, but it has also been used to justify overreach, to create division, and to silence dissent. It has shaped laws, it has shaped elections, and it has shaped our daily behavior. And most of the time, it has done so quietly, without us fully realizing the trade we were making. The most powerful fears were never the ones that came true. They were the ones that changed how we lived then, long after the danger had passed. Modern America wasn't only built by courage, innovation, and optimism. It was also built by fear managed, exploited, and remembered. The question history leaves us with isn't whether fear will return. It's whether next time we'll recognize it before it reshapes everything all over again. Thanks for watching. If this story made you think, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world.